Hello students, I continue with the last class of operations management, which is nothing but capacity planning. So yesterday we came to know different terminology as far as the capacity planning is concerned under unit 2. Try to observe, this is unit 2, okay? So what you learn, capacity is the maximum output rate of a production or service facility. As you know very well, based upon the available resources, a company will have certain kind of capacity to produce items. Or else, if that one is a service industry, okay, we can fix up the capacity based upon what we called the available facilities. The capacity always depends upon three things. One is the equipment, space, and as well as the employee. So capacity always depends on equipment, space, and employee skills. Then what do you mean capacity planning, which is the process of establishing the output rate that may be needed at a facility. It depends upon the situation, environment, or the kind of business in varied situations. And also yesterday we came to know the basic questions needs to be answered when you go for capacity planning. What is it, how much needed, and when is it needed, and what kind of capacity is needed. Based upon that, we perform forecasting activities like using regression methods and as well as the time series methods. And also yesterday we discussed reasons for capacity planning. And based upon the industry, different ways are there to measure the capacity, like car manufacturer are there, hospital is there, pizza parlor will be there, retail stores would be there. So the meaning of the capacity and capacity planning changes. Okay? Now as far as capacity planning, we have the clear demarcation of the difference. Now we are going to understand the various types of the capacity plannings. Understand? There are generally three types of capacity plannings are there. Okay. The very first one is called long range planning. The second one is called intermediate range planning. And the third one is called the short range planning. What do you mean long range planning? The long range planning means generally a year or more than a year. Okay. Let us suppose that the Apple company wants to establish a new production unit in Chennai. Okay. Immediately they cannot come down and start the production over there. It requires, a meticulous planning. First they need to apply to seek the permission of that particular Tamil Nadu government, and they need to search for appropriate place, and they need to fix up the layout. Okay. And the number of employees should be recruited. Okay. And again, finally, they are going to decide the capacity of that particular plant. So these activities most of the times will not be finished within 1 year. It takes long duration. So for that one, what is required? A meticulous planning is required. Hence this falls under long range kind of capacity planning. Or sometimes introduction of a new product into the production line. This is also sometimes takes long time. The next level of capacity planning is nothing but the intermediate range. So generally here the time range would be of what you call in terms of months, right? So generally subcontracting, acquisition of major pack of machinery, kinds of activities can be assumed as the intermediate kind of capacity planning. What do you mean subcontracting? If you have little bit experience in automobiles, you can see that the iron parts will be manufactured in one area, in one plant, and whereas the electrical parts will be given permission to produce by one more company, and the rubber parts like tire tubes will be given permission to some other companies. What do you call this one as subcontracting? So due to subcontracting, what happens, the overall way the main production unit is going to be benefited. Everything under one roof to be manufactured is not the wise. Okay? So then what happens based upon the importance and what you call the basic nature of the component, the big companies will give subcontracting for those companies which are specialized in that particular product. Let us suppose, as far as tires are concerned, you know very well, MRF is famous, Madras Rubber Factory. Like CA tires are there, Michelin tires are there, isn't it? And most of the times what happens, they will give subcontract. Yes, for these few months you are going to supply these many tires. Every time that quality norms and quality checking will be there, SQC, statistical quality control. Because all these operations will be within year, within months. Hence this falls under intermediate range of capacity planning. The last one is a short range, within days or within a day also, if some changes required. Those decisions will be taken by that floor manager, foreman. Do you know technical word? Foreman. A foreman will be in charge of the people who are operating on any particular machine. So the foreman decides what should be the final output per day of any particular machine. Okay? Or else he will be having rights or else authenticity to give permission or reschedule the production or the functioning of that particular machinery. So these kinds of decisions will be taken within hours sometimes. But overall way, the net effect would be there. So based upon the time duration, if you consider, this falls under short range of capacity planning. So how many types of capacity plannings are there? 3 types. Long range, a year, more than a year. Intermediate range, within the year. And short range, within a day or within 1 week, like that, isn't it? So after understanding different types of capacity plannings, now actually we'll discuss what are the determinants or what are the things which affects the capacity planning. If you consider such a manner, there are varied kind of determinants are there which affect the overall planning of the capacity plan. Like facilities are there, product and service factors are there. This is a very, very important question. Process factors are there, human factors are there, policy factors are there, operational factors are there, supply chain factors, external factors. Is it? So all these are going to be determinant the success of the capacity planning. So under facilities, problems would be there from size of the particular company, the actual location, the actual layout. We are having an extensive topic on layout. in this operations management only. Heating, lighting, ventilation, all these are all essential for finally to fix up that final capacity. Same way, let us suppose a very one more important determinant is human factors. Though nowadays so many companies are started implementing artificial intelligence, but there is no exception for human brain. Always human is the superior than a computer. So like that here, the human factors really going to be detrimental as far as the success of a capacity planning. What are the human factors? Training. Appropriate training is not there. Workmanship will not be derived from that employee. Okay? Experience, motivation, absentation. So all these nothing but the few of the human factors which become detrimental in planning capacity. Like one more very important determinants of capacity planning is supply chain factors. What is supply chain? All the activities right from the vendor of the supply raw material, finally making to reach the product to the hands of the customer. All these activities comes under supply chain only. So under this, what are the sub areas? You might be facing problems like warehousing problems would be there, transportation. You see, because of the floods, isn't it, in Hyderabad, all of us disconnected with the outside world because of road transportation and distribution factors. Okay. Besides this, the existing government and the kind of policies it takes, which is also going to be a determinant as far as capacity planning is concerned. Why many of the companies are coming and establishing their branches in the Telangana means, and you will be here and there observing. Here they have simplified the procedure to give permission for the external sources to come and establish companies here. Okay? So this is nothing but the external factor. Such a way if you think, so this list explains you. So what are the determinants in deciding the success of a capacity planning? So these are a few very important terminology. You may expect a short answer question from this terminology. Generally, when you are going to understand about the capacity, there are two types of capacities. One is called design capacity and one more is effective capacity. Theoretically defining, the output of a machine, I mean to say system, is called as a design capacity. As you know very well, generally if you purchase a car, theoretically on the brochure that company will give that this car gives 20 kilometers per liter. But it is going to be fixed. No. Again, when it comes to the real situation, there will be various factors which affects that, the mileage of that particular vehicle. That's why here what is that? Under ideal conditions, when roads are good, when the air is in a particular force, isn't it? What do you call this? Under fixed conditions. What is the effective capacity? So if you drive that car, let us suppose that on the roads near to high-tech city, you may or may not be reaching to the level of what to call that fixed mileage 20 kilometers per liter. At least if you reach to 18 kilometers 19 kilometers, it can be assumed as a success. Such a way, practically whatever output you get from that particular machine, after employing various conditions, you call that effective capacity. This is entirely theory, this is entirely of practice. Okay, so design capacity, effective capacity. Then how do you define actual output, which is the rate of output actually achieved cannot be exceed effective capacity. Okay, most of the time this actual output cannot be exceed effective capacity. Then how to calculate the very important numerical values? Two values here. One is called utilization. So actual output rate by capacity. How many types of capacities are there? Two types. You know very well. One is design capacity or effective capacity. Based upon the information in the denominator, you can use a design capacity value or else an effective capacity value. These are important definitions. So here one truck company problem I am explaining now. Let us suppose transportation company is there. Okay, they apply number of trucks. So generally on a day, how much they plan? Theoretical information, this 50 trucks per day. But all the 50 trucks can ply? No. What is the reality? Only 40 trucks can ply on the roads. Then what is actual output? 36 trucks per day. Here trucks, not units. Then how do you calculate efficiency? Actual output by effective capacity. Actual means 36 by 40, 90%. So what is the utilization becomes now? Actual output by the theory information, 72%. Strictly speaking, this transportation company effectively working. See that percentage. Really, this is the beauty of mathematics. With the simple numbers, you can have the overall, information about that situation. So these are simple values, but overall efficiency of the company itself, they are, determined. That's why we need to focus on these definitions. And after understanding various types of capacities, here and then you will be getting this very important terminology also. What do you call this? Economies of scale. Economies of scale means nothing but reduction in the cost for a company. So when you reduce the cost, what happens? Either way, the profits will increase. Whatever is that reason. So identification of the reason and controlling those problems before itself increases the profits. So here, based upon that, two very important terms are there. One is called economies of scale. If the output rate is less than the optimal level, increasing the output rate results in decreasing the average unit per cost. So if the output rate is, that means the number of products whatever you are producing, if they are less than that of the fixed level, then you need to increase that output. Let us suppose that per day, after all the operations, 50 chairs need to produce by some company. Instead of 50 chairs, only 35 chairs have been producing. What that indicates that the production operations are not in a particular order. So we need to increase that output. What do you call that? Economies of scale. Quite opposite to economies of scale. What is that opposite? The diseconomies of scale is there. Here, in this diseconomies of scale, output will be more than the optimal level. This word is very, very important. Optimum. I already told you. Operations management, operation research, both are interconnected. What do you mean optimum? Max or min? Here let us suppose that the maximum level of output required of any furniture industry is 50 per day. But here they are producing what you call more than that. Most of the time that leads to losses in terms of the quality, in terms of the overusage of the machinery. If overusage of the machinery is there, machines will break down. Again, replacement of the parts will be required. Okay? The spare parts for few machines cost very huge. Okay? So always the milestone, the reachable point is optimal level. Keeping in view this optimal level, you need to fix up your overall production. So these two are very, very important definitions. What to call that? Economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. So this ends what you call the capacity planning. We came to know what is the capacity planning and what are the determinants for capacity planning, and also various definitions regarding capacity planning, and one what you call the realistic transportation problem based upon values, efficiency, utilization factor of the capacity of a particular company. So these are important topics which are covered under capacity planning. So after covering this, next you go for the very, very important what you call that line balancing. So regarding the capacity planning means that entire activity will be performed in a four-wall room, in a glass room, isn't it? Now again we came back onto the production line. What do you call that? Line balancing. What do you mean a line balancing? As you all know that generally any product you take, directly by inputting raw material, and you may not be getting output in a complete product form. There will be intermittent sub operations will be taking place, like mechanical operations will be there, engineering operations will be there. Each and every department with mutual coordination only, finally you are going to receive your final product. Let us take cell phone itself. The item whatever sees outside, whatever you held within your hand, it's nothing but body part. Most of the time it would be manufactured by a what you call strong plastic, what you call that fiber item. A few mobiles having metal kind of bodies also. But when you open up inside, you see so many components would be there. Like ICs would be there. Okay? And the component regarding that sound operations would be there. Battery would be there. A single person cannot put all these things and cannot release that product into the market. For each and every sub operations, group of people will be there. Group of machines would be there. After finishing each and every work in that group of machines, that product will be moving to various stages. Understanding? The group of machines technically called as workstation. What do you call that? Workstation. The workstation which performs only that electronic items fixing. The workstation which performs only battery fixing. The workstation actually meant for to put in a what you call beautiful attracting packing section. You call that one as a line balancing. Be careful. Now imagine yourself, you are in a production unit. What is a line balancing? The line balancing is nothing but connecting each and every workstation in such a manner that approximately each workstation will get equal time. But most of the time it's highly impossible. Theoretical we may say. Okay? But still it is always better in the what you call point of actual development of the company to go for a line balancing. Okay? Now see here, different departments, different workstations are there. Section A is one workstation. Section B, section C. For all these three, they are getting components from one more section. Okay? Now if you observe these two comparative pictures, here there is no confusion. Because everywhere in equal way, the half finished, sub-finished, intermediate component supply is regular, which is in the order, but which is not in the order, which is completely chaotic disorder. So because of this chaotic condition, what happens? The output is going to affect. Understand? So you what even a line balancing, connecting each workstation overall way. Approximately every workstation should get equal time. Then what is a workstation? Group of machines, group of people, or group of tools sometimes which perform most of the time uniform activity. Okay? So this technique is very, very important whenever the companies are going to produce very, very sensitive kind of products, right? Now here how do we define line balancing? Line balancing is the process of assigning tasks to workstations in such a way that the workstations have approximately equal time requirements. And also, how do we define a workstation? A physical area where a worker with tools or one or more machines performing specific task in a production line. Okay? Now I stop here and we continue in the next class. Thank you so much.